Okay, so as I said before, one thing you need to remember is the simple sentence pattern number 2 is slightly more complicated than simple sentence number 1. So the pattern that you're going to follow here, the formula, is the subject plus a verb, a linking verb, and then a subject complement. Now, I want you to understand that this subject, the complement right here, this is something else entirely. It's not the complement with an I, okay? It's not that one, all right? It's absolutely not that one, okay? What it is when it's complement with an E. So when it's complement with an E, it performs differently, okay? Basically, what this is complement in this case is, well, as it says in the book on page 314, it says what happens is that linking verbs connect the subject to a subject complement, which is a word or a word group that completes the meaning of the subject by either renaming it or describing it. And that's what a complement is, and that's what you're doing when you're complementing, so when it's with an E. Now, there's two kinds out there. If the subject complement renames the subject, it's known as a noun or a noun equivalent, and well, it is a noun or a noun equivalent, and it's sometimes called a predicate noun. And when the subject complement describes the subject, that's known, it is basically an adjective or an adjective equivalent, and therefore is known as a predicate adjective. Now, you don't need to worry about these grammar terms. The only thing that you need to remember is that when you are, regardless of which one you use, you have to decide, do you want to rename the subject or do you want to describe it? And that will help you to choose which one to use. So if you want to rename the subject, then you need to use a noun or a noun equivalent. If you want to describe the subject, then you need to use an adjective or an adjective equivalent. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit more about linking verbs now. And basically there's a few things you need to remember. Linking verbs do not express action. They're not like transitive verbs. They're not action verbs. Instead, what they do is their only job is to connect the subject to the verb to additional information about that subject. So renaming it or describing it. So true linking verbs are any form of the verb be. So that would be am, is, are, was, were, has been, will be, are being, might have been, and so on. And then become and seem. Now, these are true linking verbs. They will always be linking verbs. Okay, that is just their job. And they don't do anything else. I mean, yes, there are some people who say, well, what if I said I was walking? Well, in this case, the linking verb is sort of acting like a helping verb. It's helping you move to that next verb, which is a gerund verb. Which is a verb that ends in ing. I'm probably mispronouncing that. So it's just linking you to that other verb, which if you just said, I walking, that's not going to make sense. So the linking verb is helping you to get there, to that other verb. And so it's I am walking, or she was running, or something like that. But these, in the case of simple sentence pattern number 2, they're always going to just be linking verbs. Now, you have another list of verbs with multiple personalities, and those are like appear, feel, grow, prove, remain, smell, sound, taste, and turn. And those are I think those are pretty much all of the ones that I've seen. There's some other ones. Ooh, didn't mean to do that. Let's erase that black line here. I actually wanted to move with this pen. Let me show you the ones that are down here. So grow, look, prove, remain, smell, sound, taste, turn, stay, get, feel. There is one that is missing here. I'm just gonna add it here. Make is another one. That's another nice one. In fact, I think I would prefer that one over prove or remain or something else like that. So sometimes these are linking verbs and sometimes they're action verbs. So the question, if a student was here, she'd be like, how can you tell then, Sister Prairie, which are which? Well, if they're there's an easy way to do it. If you can substitute am for ones that are personal pronouns like I, Okay, or is for anything that is a singular noun, or are for plural nouns, and the sentence still sounds logical, it still makes sense, then you have a linking verb on your hands. But if after the substitution the sentence absolutely makes no sense at all, then what you have is a action verb instead. So I'm going to show you how that works. So here's an example. Sylvia tasted the spicy squid eyeball stew. Now, I know that sounds gross, but I picked this sentence on purpose because it's so gross it'll help you remember. So we're going to replace tasted with is, and it says Sylvia is the stew? I don't think so. So tasted, therefore, in this case, is an action verb in this sentence. So something Sylvia is doing. So the squid eyeball stew, whoops, went a little too far. The squid eyeball stew tasted good. So the stew is good? You bet, make your own. So as you can see, this one, when I add is to this, it makes sense. It's logical, and it definitely has some kind of logic to it. Okay, so I smell the delicious aroma of mushroom and papaya baking in the oven. Okay, so we're going to use am. I am the aroma? No way. In this case, smell in the sentence is something I'm doing. It's an action verb. So the next one is the mushroom and papaya pizza smells heavenly. We've got a singular, this entire subject right here, it's this entire thing right here, okay, is the subject, okay? So this is a subject, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace it with is, because it's singular, okay? So down here I've got the pizza is heavenly. Definitely, you should try a slice. Okay, so my sister felt the cool grass beneath her feet. So again, singular, right here, singular subject. So we're going to change this to is. So what we've got right here is my sister is the cool grass beneath her feet. Definitely not. That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my entire life. My sister's not grass. So here is something that my sister is doing. Her feet are feeling the grass. My sister feels depressed after 7 straight days of rain. Okay, so I didn't point this out earlier. I probably should have. One of the things is keep in mind that this right here is an adjective. Okay, adjective. So it's describing it. A lot of these are going to be describing out. This is a noun. Okay, so down here, when we're talking about my sister feels depressed, we've got an adjective here. So it's already qualifying with one of that because that's describing my sister. But as you can see, my sister is depressed without a doubt. My sister hates wet weather. Now, there is one word that this absolutely will not work for, and that is appear. So with appear, you have to analyze the function of the verb. You kind of have to do what I mentioned before. You kind of have to ask yourself, is there a subject complement there? And if so, is it a noun or an adjective? Does it rename or describe it? So what we've got here is we've got a nice little transition right here, swooping out of the clear blue sky. The blue jay appeared on the branch. So we've got the subject here, and we've got a verb, but I don't see any subject complement. It might be on the branch, but that is neither a noun nor an adjective. In addition, appear is something a blue jay can do, especially when there's food near. The blue jay appeared happy to see the bird feeder. So we've got our subject here, we've got our verb, and I think happy is my subject complement. I'm just going to double check on that. That is an adjective, so it already qualifies a little bit for that. So we can see that happiness, the state of mind, it's the bird's state of mind, is connecting the subject to that. Okay, so we're going to do a couple of them down here, and then when we talk in class, I'll give you some more examples. So right now, I am king of the campus. So I've got my subject right here. I've got my linking verb. This is a true linking verb. The king of the campus is my entire, that's my entire subject complement. My simple subject complement is king, but king is a noun, okay, definitely a noun, and it renames what I am. So if you were to say, are you the king of the campus? I'd say, yes, I am. Capri pants, that's my subject right here. Verb, are trouble around here. Now, trouble, you might think that's the only subject complement, but actually, they're only trouble on campus. They're only trouble at BYUI. So the entire thing is the subject complement. But yes, trouble is our clue here. This is an adjective. Okay, so we know that it describes capri pants at BYU, Idaho. The glory of God is intelligence. Of course, my simple subject right here is glory, but the entire thing here, the glory of God, is intelligence. So we've got a verb, and a subject complement is the only thing left. Intelligence is, of course, a noun, and it renames what God, the glory of God is intelligence. Okay, my roommates became yoga masters. We've got my subject, my verb, and my subject complement. Yoga masters is a noun. It renames what my roommates are. She seems strange. Okay, this one's easy because there's only 3 elements. Okay, sometimes that happens. Strange is an adjective, okay, and it renames or describes her. Okay, so now we're going to try some other linking verbs. That would be fun to do. So we're just going to erase all of this so that it's not distracting. So first thing we've got here is these shoes smell stinky. Okay, so definitely want to test this one out. So we've got here our subject complement. Let's just grab this pen, exit out of that. So our subject right here is these shoes. Our verb is our smelling, and then stinky is an adjective. So that's definitely our subject complement. It does describe the shoes. So now let's do that test. Okay, let's do that test, shall we? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and I am going to say, because it's plural, I'm going to say are. So the subject complement here in this case is, not the subject complement, excuse me. The verb is are. So these shoes are stinky, definitely still makes sense. So I'm going to try a different way of highlighting these. I kind of was having fun with this Galaxy pen, but I need to do this a little bit more with typing instead. Okay, so the night grew dark. So we've got the night, and I'm just going to underline that as my subject. I'm going to highlight the verb in a nice blue color. So even if you have, what's the word I'm looking for? Color blindness, you'll still be able to see this. And then dark. And we'll just highlight that. Dark, the subject complement in yellow. So what we've got here is the night grew dark. Okay, dark is definitely describing the night. So because the night is singular, I'm going to replace it with is. And the night is dark. And my brother heard me practicing this one earlier, and he's like, don't forget to say, and full of terrors. And I'm like, bro, it's not funny. First of all, I've never watched Game of Thrones. And second of all, I hope, well, I don't know if students have watched it. It's rated R kind of thing, so I don't know. But here's the thing, I know the term, I know the phrase. Part of one of their weird religions there. So the night is dark and full of terrors. But full of terrors, that still is describing the night. So in this case, it works. Okay. My brother has the weirdest sense of humor, so we can keep that. Okay, so the next one that we have here is the milk turned sour. And these ones are, keep in mind, these are very simplistic. I kept them that way so that I could change them easily. So the milk turned sour, I'm going to change that because the milk is singular to is. The milk is sour. Sour still describes the milk. It still makes logical sense, so I can keep that verb. All right, last but not least, my grandma's dentures taste nasty. Oh, oops, I'm supposed to do that one as blue, right? And before you say, ew, Sister Perry, how do you know that your grandmother's dentures taste nasty? I've never tasted them. My grandmother told me they taste nasty. Okay, so grandma's dentures, this is plural, so I'm going to say are. My grandmother's dentures are nasty. Nasty is definitely an adjective. It is describing my grandma's dentures, so I can say taste with no penalty here. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, I don't know. You're like, well, all of these are adjectives, Sister Perry. Is that the only kind that you can do with these multiple personality ones? No, you can do other ones. So if I said this song, let's see, this song will, oh, hello small verbs, will make wild dancing music. And I wasn't able to turn off that lovely underline, so let's actually get rid of that, so that, there we go. There's just our subject. Will make is our verb, but we're going to highlight both of them since the will is influencing that. And then wild dancing music. Music is obviously our simple subject complement, but we're also going to take the whole thing. Okay, so we're going to go back in here and we're going to get rid of this. We're going to get rid of both of them, even though we're doing a future tense thing here. And we're just going to say is. Okay, so this song is wild dancing music. Still makes sense. Wild dancing music, or music, is a noun, and it renames what that song is. So you can do it. It's not as easy when you're using these multiple personality verbs. It's easier to use a subject complement that is an adjective. You'll just find that that happens more often than the noun version of this. Okay, so that's just how that'll work. Okay, so last but not least, oopsie. Okay, so the last one is he appears smart. So he appears, so we've got our subject he, we've got appears right here, and then smart. These ones are very easy. Now, remember, we can't replace this. We could say he is smart, but sometimes appears is an action verb. In this case, it's not, because smart is an adjective and it is describing him. Now, I'm going to point out one thing. Whenever you use the sentences, he seems smart or he appears smart, these are kind of like backhanded compliments. They're not the best ones to use. They might offend people. I don't know. You might just want to be careful with them a little bit. Okay, so you can use a number of verbs for this that are listed here or above and still get a lot of usage out of them. I am going to show you the examples that are here. So first example, I'm going to do, if it'll let me, oh, that's right. I need to do a new share. Hold on. Okay. Let's go back to this other sentence pattern. See if it'll let me make some changes. I'll make some changes up there, but I don't know about down here. You know what? I think I'll just pass on that one because I think I've given you enough examples, and we'll talk more about those in class. So I think really when it comes to simple sentence pattern number 2, that's all you need to remember, is that it's a subject, and then you've got a linking verb where you'll use one of these lovely verbs, and then a subject complement that is either a noun or an adjective. And if it's a noun, it's going to rename the subject. If it is an adjective, it's going to describe it. And just to use that test that we had over there, if you're not certain that it is going to work. So just use those 2 questions right there. So let's go back up here and actually erase that because that's in the way. So just remember those 2 qualifiers, basically. Yeah. So the first qualifier is, can you replace it? Can you substitute it with am, is, or are? And if so, does it still make sense? And if it doesn't, then you've got an action verb. Okay, I hope that's helpful. Just stop.